Marvel.
Mr Speaker, I move that the 73rd report of the Public Works Committee for the 54th Parliament entitled Banksia Park International High School Redevelopment Project be noted. Mr Speaker, as you're aware, Banksia Park International High School is located in the District Council of Tea Tree Gully, and it's one of 5 entrepreneurial specialist schools in the state. The high school was allocated funding of $9 million as part of the Department for Education's Capital Works program. Banksia Park International High School requires increased accommodation capacity to cater for the transition of Year 7 students to high school in 2022. There's also ageing accommodation at the school site requiring replacement with newer facilities that better suit the needs of the school. The proposed redevelopment will include the construction of a new performing arts and home economics building, as well as the construction of new covered outdoor learning areas. The project will include refurbishment of existing buildings, which will provide additional general learning areas. Proposed works will also include the demolition of 2 buildings on the school site and ancillary and necessary landscaping works. When complete, the Banksia Park International High School project will deliver a total school enrolment capacity of 1,200 places by 2022. The redevelopment project will be staged and construction is expected to be complete in August 2021. Mr Speaker, the committee examined written evidence in relation to the project, which advised that the appropriate consultation in relation to the scope of works had been undertaken, and the committee is satisfied that the proposal has been subject to the appropriate agency consultation and meets the criteria for the examination of projects described in the Parliamentary Committees Act 1991. Based on the evidence considered and pursuant to Section 12C of the Parliamentary Committees Act 1991, the committee reports to Parliament that it recommends the scope of the proposed public works that I've described to you.
The member for Newland.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, and it's with great pleasure to speak on this report on the redevelopment of the Banksia Park International High School, a $9 million project funded by the Marshall Liberal Government, part of a $1 billion infrastructure spend right across education facilities in South Australia that will not only help deliver world-class education facilities but also create jobs. And in the case of this project, creating around 22 jobs. So this project will do a number of things, including the construction of a new performing arts and home economics building, as well as the construction of some new covered outdoor learning areas. There'll be the refurbishment of existing buildings to provide some additional general learning areas, as well as the demolition of 2 existing buildings on the site and some landscaping works. It's also worth noting that there'll be some air conditioning upgrades at the school. I know an issue that has been raised with me quite a number of times early on when I came along as the local member. And this will allow not only to have some new and improved facilities, but also to increase the capacity of the school, where in a couple of years' time expect to have about 1,200 students, including additional Year 7 students. So this is an exciting project for Banksia Park International High School, which is a wonderful school within my electorate. In particular, I'd really like to commend Mr Rolly Coulter, the principal of the school, for his excellent leadership, as well as the wonderful staff that they have through the school. This school really has a very large focus on creating global citizens, so teaching students to look at the world, to take a world view and look at problems from across the world, but also its efforts in terms of developing students to be able to take advantage of the new opportunities in the world. It made it successful in being one of the 5 entrepreneurial specialist schools in South Australia, which is part of the Marshall Liberal Government's Entrepreneurial Specialist Schools program that aims for students to be able to develop an entrepreneurial mindset, including, setting up new businesses and solving problems. And I've had, as a local member, the great fortune to be able to attend some of these events where students have identified a problem, they've come up with a solution, and they've worked out how to package it, how to brand it, and how to sell that solution, and it really is a very impressive standard and something that I think the school should be very proud of. And in particular, I'd like to commend the Assistant Principal, Mr Kerry Jones, who's responsible for the Entrepreneurial Specialist program at that school. Along the lines of successful students coming out of that school, two that I would just like to highlight that particularly noteworthy is the Police Commissioner Grant Stevens, is a former student of Banksia Park International High School, and also Tony Clark, who is the Managing Director of Rising Sun Pictures, who has worked on such movies as The Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter movies, Batman Begins, Blood Diamonds, and many others. So Banksia Park International High School is a wonderful school. I'm thrilled to see that it is going to get $9 million in redevelopment. That work is underway right now, and I can't wait to see it completed. Thank you.
The Minister for Education.
Sir, I'll be extremely brief given the limited time, but just want to place on the record the government's excitement and enthusiasm for the redevelopment of $9 million budget we're funding at Banksia Park International High School. When I visited the school with the member for Newland, the enthusiasm from the students and the staff at the school about seeing the plans, the outstanding plans that have been designed for the school was palpable. And we were talking to Year 9 students, so they're actually going to experience this new development at the beginning of 2022. I commend the project. I commend Rolly Coulter and his staff and the Governing Council for their work, and can't wait to see the finished design. I thank the member for Newland for highlighting all of the other matters that I would have otherwise raised.
Will Speaksy close this debate?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I want to acknowledge the contribution of the Minister and the member for Newland. The member for Newland, as is well known in this place, is a highly effective, passionate and determined advocate.
The member wish to seek leave or put the question?
And in just a moment I'll put the question. Very appreciative of his contribution. He's seen through a very significant project of works to approval, and he should be very proud of his effort in that regard. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Been put. Is it seconded? I'll put it at once. Those opinions say aye. Against say no. It's carried.